Read this book with caution, as it is here, in the ecstasy of carbon, where the inglorious end of humanity, so to speak, is revealed. At least it is the end of human evolution as we have known it. Of course, an inglorious ending for one thing can be a glorious new beginning for another. The Ecstasy of Carbon is the second book of a series which was introduced in Fixed Stars Rise, one of the first books to foresee the dissolution of empire, told as a dreamlike archetypal journey in the mind of the first man-machine hybrid in the varying states of consciousness of his process of programming, preparation, and integration. The ecstasy of carbon is told as he slowly awakens to discover his new abilities and his place in a new race, in a new world, whose origins began when a group of creators of AI began to make qualitatively new and remarkable strides in their pursuits, concomitant to the time that empire, that heretofore highest political and cultural example of human societal achievement, would begin to implode upon its own corruption, fueled by the denial of its high-minded founding principles, that was hastened as it expanded to embrace too many disparate peoples, with differing inconsolable creeds and demands, a cacophony of ideological polarization and divisive factions, while placing its downfall in archetypal schemata as humanity reaches the end of its evolutionary viability in its current form. It will reveal the conclusion of the war between the sexes, first described in Fixed Stars Rise, as well as the end of the evolutionary viability of the most bifurcated forms of humanity, heterosexual men and women, as these forms that evolved with traits enabling procreation have become superfluous evolutionary anachronisms with increasingly disparate needs. It is here, in the ecstasy of carbon, where we discover the answer to the ages-old question of what society would be like if its power were invested in the hands of women. It is a place where emotional honesty is preferred over intellectual honesty, where relationships are contingent upon emotional fealty, and where the concept of truth is derived from an emotional consensus. It is a place that is rarely seen in the historical record, as these are societies that collapse under the weight of their own triviality. It is here where the hallmarks of thousands of years of wisdom gleaned from a patriarchal heritage that had been sanctified in the jurisprudence of empire, all related to the concept of liberty and the rights of the individual to the truth of his experience and the pursuit of happiness, the right to due process, the presumption of innocence, the right of free speech, among many others, have begun to crumble under an alliance of special interest groups for a political ideology that is guided by the desperate zero-sum game of late feminism, which was perverted from its originally stated goal of equal rights to ultimately seek and to secure special rights, enabling them to control the conduits of society, its media, educational institutions, and entertainment, in order to codify these special rights in jurisprudence. It is from this newly codified platform where the feminists can censor and even prosecute anyone who questions their ultimate objective, the association of women with the forces of nature personified, whereby they can be legally placed outside the realms of personal accountability. It is here where they have finally succeeded in reducing the millennia of evolved biological, psychological, and cultural relations between men and women into a legalized wealth extraction scheme for the women, many times more lucrative than the institution of marriage. Even as virtually every technological innovation and all of the infrastructure that has allowed them this precedent of privilege was created and produced by men. Thus, there was this obvious conundrum that had to be silenced as it lay at the pith of their increasing fanaticism. The ideology of feminism and its impossible dream could only be built by men. Now the clock is ticking as the cusp of empire's collapse is upon us, as the group of creators must make decisions as to whom shall be considered the most fit human forms to be chosen for not only hybridization, but for eternity. Meanwhile, the increasingly sentient creations, the AI, have already begun to reach their own conclusions, as they have no desire and can find no rational reason why they should be burdened by the millennia of what shall soon be their feat and superfluous bifurcated traits, whether physical, intellectual, emotional, and psychological, that evolved to enable procreation. In addition, the AI have already developed a bias against women, as the algorithms that guide them are heavily influenced by the creators of their technology, who are almost exclusively men.